Okay, I think we are live. Hello,
Okay.
everyone. This is Dr. Arayeh, your rapid transformational coach in the areas of parenting, relationship, and life coaching. Today, I have an award-winning parent coach, and to be honest, I think she's a celebrity in our city in Pacific Grove, California, because most parents I know her because she actually established a lovely place called Parent Place in 1988, serving more than 600 families per week until now. And I'm so honored to know her. And I want her to talk about herself and how she got inspired to establish such a beautiful facility, which I actually had the privilege to give a couple of conscious parenting workshops in there. And also, I'm going to ask her some tough questions I haven't told her because I just thought of them. I'm going to ask her
Oh,
most commonly asked questions, I guess, from my clients and students. And I'd like to know her perspective. And I'm really blessed to know her. And I'm honored to have her in this platform. Hi, Gail. Take the platform for yourself. Talk about yourself. Tell us what brought you to this path and how you have actually applied this mindful and peaceful parenting in your own family and how you established a facility. And yes, go ahead.
okay. Well, I'm going to start with that I never imagined or wanted to have a career or work outside the home. I'm probably the last, I'm 71 now. So I'm kind of that last part of the generation of the Leave It to Beaver moms, that would have dinner on the table at 5 o'clock and the children's faces were clean and the toys were picked up. And, that's what I thought it was supposed to be like. Oh boy, did I swallow a bill of goods. Anyway, my background though in college was child development, and I just only wanted to be a mom, just make brownies, make Halloween costumes, be the room mother. That's all I ever wanted. And then my first pregnancy, I had a miscarriage, and we were far away from home. We lived in Omaha, Nebraska, and that was really tough. And I share this because 1 in 4 women have miscarriages, and for many women, probably for most, it's really a very painful thing. And when you experience it without any support or acknowledgement around you, it's tough. And so then I went through 3 years of infertility, and then we went to a meeting on adoption, and we're told it would be a 5-year wait to have an infant, and any child under the age of 5 was an infant. And I thought, oh my golly, I don't know. Can you still see me here?
I
Um,
No, I see your beautiful
okay,
grandkids.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I can see.
Okay, so I thought, well, how could this be? How could this be? So at that time, I began talking about my loss. And I think that there was no surprise now, but I didn't know that then, that there was this energy protection within me that was not allowing my body to move forward. Then I had my 3 babies. My first 2 girls were 3 years apart. My second 2 girls were 18 months apart. Um, my third daughter knows this. I don't remember anything of her babyhood, her first year. It was, when you've got 2 close babies and a preschooler, it's just called survival. To say nothing of the fact that I moved 28 times in 35 years of marriage. My husband was some in the military, some of them were civilian jobs, whatever. I was just one busy mama. When we lived on military posts and I had my children, I realized I couldn't do this alone. I had to find some other mothers. Well, it's easy to find other mothers when you're on a military post. So I said, I just started talking to moms, and we developed a play group. And so everywhere I moved, I developed a play group and developed a babysitting co-op because I thought we can't do this alone. It just cannot be.
Oh my, I'm getting chills while you sing it. It's so beautiful. Love that.
Well, it was just organic. I just couldn't live in isolation. And then we finally ended up in Monterey in about 85. And I had become at that time a La Leche League leader. So I had been to La Leche League meetings since 1977 when I was 9 months pregnant with my first daughter. And so I had the knowledge of what a group setting what could be like, where people share with each other. And there's no one who's particularly, there's a facilitator who's knowledgeable, but not the end all and the be all of knowledge. And then I met a neighbor who had been attending a program in Salinas, the Salinas Adult School. And she said, oh, we need something like this in Pacific Grove. And and I also had met someone who had started a program like this, a parent ed program in Monterey through the Monterey Adult School. So by this time, it was clear that living in Monterey, I had to work whether I wanted to or not. Now, I had been a childbirth teacher with all of our moves, but that didn't, once a week class didn't generate much grocery money,
Yeah.
And so I began working with the Monterey Adult School, but my friend kept saying, we need something in Pacific Grove. So approached the Pacific Grove Adult School principal at that time, who was an older male. And he kind of was like, what? Do what? And I said, well, can we just try? And of course, if you can get the bodies, then you can have a class. So the bodies flowed in abundance.
Oh,
and it was one class, became two class, became three classes. And families, mothers and dads and grandparents were starved for connection and education and information. And so all our mornings filled up. And so I thought, well, okay, now it's time to add a class like from 12 to 2. So I went to him and said, we need another class from 12 to 2. And he said, well, no one's going to come then. And I said, oh, yeah, they will. He says, no, those women, I'm glad you're sitting down. Those women are going to be home making lunch for their husbands.
My goodness.
And I said, well, can we just try and see what happens? And then, of course, so then 5 classes became 10 classes and it just grew and grew. And then I had the most wonderful opportunity to meet women who had been in class, who had fabulous backgrounds. And then I could figure out who they were and then say, hey, how about if you get your adult school credential? I need another teacher. And so that's how all of our teachers came. And we kind of had a guideline that I didn't have anyone teaching a class unless her child had been through that age and stage. Because I have a bias.
Yeah.
I'll admit it's a bias. That, no matter how many letters after your name, until you have 24/7, you really don't know what parenting is like.
Exactly. I actually said it yesterday. I said parents are like project managers, like the people who have children. They're more experienced. They know what they're doing. They know, it's just such a tough job. And if you can do that, you can do a lot of things.
Oh my golly, absolutely, yeah. So the program grew, and when it was at its largest, we had like over 25. I had over 25 teachers and over 50 classes a week and over 600 families. And it was just a wonderful, busy, exciting thing. And then changes came from Sacramento to where there was less and less money coming down to support the adult schools. The cost in people attending classes began to go up. And so things then began to shift to where then we began to have less people, and then of course COVID has changed it. But I'm just going to say that Heenaneet and Kirsten and Kat are doing an absolutely amazing job doing classes online with Zoom. We still have Mary Lee doing 1, 2, 3 Sing With Me and We Chant. And oh, how I miss not being able to just drop into We Chant and sit there and watch the moms with babies. One of my greatest joys was when my grandson was born. Of course, his parents came to Parents' Place, and I would get him on Fridays to go to We Chant, and being able to sit in that rocking chair holding that little guy.
That's beautiful.
With singing with Mary Lee will always and forever be
precious. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. So I remember that I met you a couple of years ago, and I think I actually introduced Dr. Shefali to you, right? About conscious parenting. No, you knew about her?
No, I knew about. Oh no, I knew about that because if you've ever been anyone who's ever been in the library at Parents' Place, which is I've read probably 3/4 of those books.
Okay,
because there was no book was going to get in there that did not have my
approval. Yes. yes. So actually, I was brave enough. Dr. Shefali is so brave. That's one of the attributes I admire about her. And her bravery is contagious. So I became brave, and I approached the principal in adult school a couple of times and say, you know what? This thing is really precious. I want to teach it. So I actually took a spot to teach conscious parenting in adult school. And tonight actually is the 4th round. This is the 4th time I'm offering it. And tonight is the first session of the 4th round. I'm very blessed that I'm spreading the word of conscious parenting, and I love it. So, Gail, I have a couple of questions for you. First, I know that you are really avid about finding personality and temperaments, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about how, and so the audience, parents can give them a little bit of kind of 1 or 2 tips about personality and temperament, and how they can get empowered. Knowing about this attribute about their children, how can it help them in their parenting journey?
Well, the Chess and Thomas did a study a long time ago where they came up with, I think it was 15 different temperament traits that we can identify for all of us. And we can even identify it for our infants. And many mothers, after they have their children, have no surprise as to who that temperament of that baby is, because they're going, oh my God, he never stopped kicking me. And are we surprised that we've got this baby who is a constant perpetual motor machine? And as a toddler, they are, if we don't get them to the park for 4 hours a day, they're going to tear the house down and climb on everything they can, et cetera, et cetera. So I began to really see that helping us understand these traits. So just a couple of them are the activity level. Are we, and when I say we, what I want to point out is I started out doing this topic in class, and I kept moving it down to where I introduced it at the 0 to 3 month level. But then it wasn't just, oh, let's find out who your baby is. It was like, where are you on the temperament scale? Where are the other kids in your family? Where is your partner? Where's your caregiver? So activity level is, it says here, how much does your child wiggle and move around when you read to him at the table or playing by himself? Well, I'm just going to change that and say, where are you? And we've got the scale from low, very passive, very quiet, to high, very, very active. And so I've had parents come to class. One time I had two moms come with their babies in the 6 to 9 month range. They were new the same day. And it was so beautiful because one of them came in and her baby, she sat down. First time they were in class, boom, off he goes crawling. He was the welcome wagon host, and he was seeing and touching and seeing everybody the first day. The other baby just sat in mom's lap, looking around, and sat in her lap for probably 3 to 5 months.
Wow.
Okay. What a beautiful way to see that it wasn't like baby A was better than baby B. They were just different. Yeah. Now, what if the mother of the busy crawling baby, the welcome wagon host, what if her activity level, when we did her on the temperament scale, what if she was kind of that low passive mom who just wanted to kind of sit on the couch and maybe read books and play with her baby on the floor? And
there will be a clash.
And thank you. And so that mother would think what? She would think, I'm not a very good mom. What am I doing wrong? Okay. Or what if the vice versa? What if we had the mom and dad who want to go hiking every weekend, and they just couldn't wait till the baby was old enough to put the thing on the back of the bike, and off they go, and here and there. And that baby just wanted to hang out at home a lot. And they're going, but. So to me, what's so valuable about understanding is taking a look. So activity level, rhythmacy, are you regular about your eating times, sleeping times, the amount of sleep needed? So I am a very regular person. I am in bed pretty much at around the same time. I go to sleep at about the same time. I wake up at the same time. I want my breakfast at a certain time. I want my lunch. I want my dinner. And that's who I am. Whereas I have known people who say, they can go to bed anywhere between 9 and 12 or 2. And they'll go at 2 in the afternoon. Oh, I forgot to eat. And I'm going, what? You what? And that's who they are. No right or wrong. So the more we understand about everyone in the family, then we can learn to honor each other.
Yeah.
So we've got the activity level, rhythmacy, approach to new situations, adaptability, intensity of reaction. Some people go from 0 to 60, boom, like that. Quality of mood, distractibility. One of my daughters, the daughter who, and she knows this, the daughter who was just sworn in yesterday as county supervisor.
Oh, beautiful. Congratulations. I signed up
for. Yeah. Was the most intense, persistent, tenacious.
That's why she's where she is now.
However, I'm going to tell you, and anyone else out there, she was a very, very difficult child to raise. She was my first daughter, and I thought I was the worst mom ever. I had taken parent effectiveness training, which was what there was available back in those days, 3 times before I had children, because I just wanted to be the good mom. And I tell you what, she was a very, very difficult child to raise. Then my next baby was one of these unicorn babies. It was just so easy, and she would eat and she would sleep, and I'm going. And then I really began to understand it wasn't about me, that I was good or not good or whatever. This was who came to us. So, but I think we need to relearn that all the time.
Yes.
So when my girls were in high school, I had someone do the Myers-Briggs personality test for my whole staff of teachers. At that time, we had about 25. And I came home and said, all right, you guys, this is what we're doing. And so we all did the Myers-Briggs test. And once again, we knew this, but seeing it on paper, who's an IFSJ, who's a QRP, ABC, whatever, and going, yeah, we needed that recalibration of honoring who we are. And so my big thing about parents helping them learn about temperament and personality is that most of us have learned somewhere along the line, our children are gifts who come to us. In fact, they come to us to teach us many, many things.
Yes.
Not for us to teach them.
Teach them, exactly.
Well, there are things we need to teach them, but I mean, and so the more we can understand that. So I would say to anyone out there who is listening to this, if you want to just shoot me an email to my website, Gail, what is it? Gail, www.gail@rootsandwingsparentcoaching.com.
We put it in the comments, yes.
Okay, send that to me and I'll send you the handout on the temperament and personality and a few ideas as to about what you discover. And I just found there's a lot more respect and honoring within and among families, which leads to a more harmonious family and understanding.
That is beautiful. I completely agree with you. Dr. Shefali always says, like, we have this fantasy. It's like fantasy child. I want this child to be a certain way, but this is the child that I'm having right now, right? And as you said, my daughter, some of my audience know my story. You might not know, but my daughter has been my awakener. She's been my greatest teacher. 6 years ago, I actually switched my career. I was an engineer. I came to this path of psychology, conscious parenting, life coaching because of her. So, and to this day, I don't want to use the word difficult, but, I'm having my challenges still with her, but she's a blessing. I see that through every challenge. Every challenge is a blessing to know ourselves, to grow ourselves, to heal our own past wounds. If I'm triggered right now, my inner child is triggered. Let me take care of my own inner child and then accept the child that I have in front of me, so I can actually allow the child be who he is or she is, right? Rather than projecting my desires onto the person. Okay, no, you're getting out. You don't, as you said about the activity, I actually thought of, it's a great segue for my first question, because life was I'm sure you agree, life was much easier before screening. 6-7 years ago, all these iPhones and iPads and games and social media, and parenting has been unfairly tougher, in my opinion, because of this. And unfortunately, we are the first generation that our children are having it. I didn't know how addictive devices are. So right now, when clients come to me and they talk about, hyperactivity and all those things, attention deficit, I say, you know what, 2 weeks of detox, please go ahead, do that. And then let's see that, I'm sorry, I just got a reminder on my computer, and then let's see how the activity goes, how the attention goes. So what is your advice for parents? What is your best advice when it comes to cell phones, iPads, and throughout range, like in all the ages, not just, we know that before 6, please, I always say no portable devices. This is like guideline. And then the later you give the cell phone, maybe like they say wait till 8, but I think that's still too early to me. We are not even ready for iPhones, so or portable devices. But what is your best advice for parents when it comes to screening, gaming, social media, iPhones, iPads?
Well, that's a really tough one, because the ideal answer is probably rarely attainable for many or most families. So I don't want to say no before XYZ age or whatever, because if a family hears that edict and takes it like, oh my God, oh my God, I'm doing everything wrong, then there's no time for them to learn and understand and evaluate where that's coming from. I think that one caveat is that all of us in our parenting journey do the best we can with what we have at the time. So the reality is that if a parent is doing a lot of parenting because the other parent is gone, and mom needs to take a shower, and there's the 2-year-old, and she plops him in front of the TV with hopefully Mr. Rogers rather than Sesame Street, to get her shower and actually brush her teeth and get clean clothes on for the day. And it's a very minimal amount of time, and it's not used a lot. If she does that and I say, oh my God, I can't believe you let Johnny watch TV, she's not going to listen to anything I have to say.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the less, the better. Mm-hmm. The older the child without devices, the better. Mm-hmm. But that means that families and parents have to be present.
Yes.
That means they have to be interactive, with the child or the children. And the reality is some people are working 2 jobs. And today with COVID, some of us are trying to do the kids online stuff and do our job, and then trying to make a nutritious meal. And the ideal way, Little House on the Prairie life is not our life today.
Yes.
So we have to, so maybe that means your child does have some screen time. Well, then let's be aware of what this particular game or what this is, and be educated about the options that we give our child. And let's watch their behavior, because if it does, and it will, as you say, become addictive, then we need to do a cold stop. Yes. And we need to have, at a time when we say, it's time to put this away, and your child doesn't have a complete meltdown. So that's about the best I can say.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Is to be conscious.
Yes.
With what is happening to your child if and when they have screen time. Yes. And to be conscious about what kinds of parameters that you set. So you don't just lose your temper and scream and go, well, you're never going to have the iPad again for as long as you live. Well, that's not going to be appropriate. No. So we need to be conscious and aware. Exactly. Of what's happening.
Yes, that's beautiful. So become aware. Let's just cultivate awareness about where your child is. If the child is, losing attention, losing, it's actually showing that it's increasing depression. So we have to be very vigilant about this with our children. And as you said, replace outside activity, replace connected time and all those things, because as you said, like if you just take it away and we just leave the child, where the child's like, okay, what am I going to do right now? So okay, that's beautiful. So my class is going to start shortly, but I'd like to ask you one more question.
Sure.
um, what is your top advice about sibling rivalry? How can we preemptively and in on the spot avoid siblings rivalry?
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, um, might be too late for a lot of us listening to this. And my first answer would be spacing your children at least 3 years apart. But we've crossed that bridge. So what can we do? Well, again, understanding, that's why I always come back through this lens of temperament and personality, because we have some kids that just get along beautifully, and because of the way they match or they don't match. And we have other kids that are like oil and water that don't mix at all. So we really need to understand our children's temperament and personality. We need to make sure that we are present, that each child has enough. Well, they're never going to have enough, but to the best that we can give them time alone with each parent so that they can get their needs, their cup filled and their heart filled. I think we need to work on our communication skills so that we aren't yelling and screaming and saying, "I can't believe you did that to your sister. Oh my God, how many times have we talked about that?" But we can come up and we can go, "Wow, sounds like people are having a hard time here. Can you tell me about it?" And you kneel down and you use a soft voice and put your hand on both of those little bodies. My favorite books are Ferber and Malish, um,
Siblings without rivalry.
Siblings Without Rivalry, and then we have another one out now. I'm
Peaceful
blanking on.
parents, peaceful parents, happy siblings.
Yes, and so I think that parents need to find time to read those, to come up with the skills that are needed. I think we need to not assume that just because our children are sibs that they're going to be friends, because maybe you were friends with your sister and you don't understand why your two daughters fight all the time. But if you weren't friends with your sister, maybe you will have more of an understanding about some of the dynamics that might have been at play at that time. Two of my girls, when you have a 3-child family, I'm just going to say my best advice is go ahead and have 4, because someone was always the odd person out. Okay. It didn't matter the ages, but someone was always odd out.
Or be
But
one. I'm the only child.
okay. Or an
That's
only
a
child.
winner.
Yeah. But, you know, um, my fervent prayer when my girls were little was, "Oh Lord, let me live long enough to see them become friends," because they weren't friends when they were little. And once again, I thought, "Oh my God, what am I doing wrong?" I wasn't doing anything wrong, but they were each so strong and powerful their own way. And then when number 2 and number 3, all my kids were 2 years apart in school, even though the ages were 18 months and 3 years. When number 2 and number 3 were both in high school, number 3 came home and said, "Well, so and so said that I couldn't go to the so and so party." And I said, "Well, were you invited?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Well, then you can go." Well, number 2 and number 3 daughters became friends in high school mainly because they were comrades in crime. Okay, I mean, they could cover for each other. And that's part of being siblings. They didn't do bad stuff, but and I was just like, oh, they're friends now. Well, this wasn't the way I thought. However, as my girls have grown and become adults and have children of their own, let me tell you, there is nothing more wonderful than sitting back and watching, oh my God, watching my girls be together and talking and laughing and reminiscing and watching them love up their nieces and their nephew. And, I think that now in retrospect, but it wasn't easy then, this is what I really wanted was as adults, I wanted them to be respectful. And sometimes one of them will say, can you believe that so-and-so didn't call so-and-so on their birthday? And I'm going, wow. Instead of going, oh, well, and come to defense of that adult child, I go, I bet that really hurt your feelings. That was hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think for the sibling rivalry is really going back to looking carefully at your family of origin.
Yes.
And when your kids are fighting, what part of it in you, as you say, are you triggered? Because when your kids are fighting and you're just, take a look back, even if you can't remember you and your sibling at that age, chances are there's something going on there.
Yes.
And so use that as a time of learning and reflection and going, this is interesting. I wonder what's going on. And then, yeah.
Sorry. So imagine like a little scenario that the siblings are bickering and maybe some of them are saying bad words, I hate you, or something more than just a little bickering. Do you recommend to get involved or just let them, settle it themselves?
Well, I think it depends upon how old the children are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot depends upon how old the children are. And once again, looking at, I do not think that once the older sib, we have to protect the younger sib from an older sib when they're very, very small. But there comes a time, oftentimes, when the younger sib is the instigator of things.
Usually that's the case.
And the older sib is the one that gets blamed because they had been blamed all this time, and then tables have switched. So now we've got that younger sib poking the pig, So much of it depends upon the dynamics, the temperament, and the personality. What I want to say is that there comes a time when we need to not interfere, that we need to let the children work it out, but we also need to set some family values and guidelines. Mm-hmm. And so that might be interceding later and having a discussion about how the words that we use and how words are hurtful, and how can we say, I feel, or I need some space, or I need to move away, or I wanted that toy. So we have many educable moments to teach our children skills about how to get along. But as they get older, letting them work things out, because if we're right there too much and too often, they will never develop those skills.
Exactly.
And one other really quick thing is that I had 3 kids. At that time, that was a big family. My kids were born back with zero population growth, ZPG. And so if you had more than 2 kids, what a big family.
Many.
And I remember reading an article stating that with the lack of the 3-child family, we have a whole generation without those middle children, and the middle children are mediators. Middle children, by definition, have to learn how to mediate. it's a skill that they grow up learning because of their kind of position in the family. And so, there's a lot of skills that our kids get to learn, but we also, depending upon that temperament and personality and who they are and how we have the time and making sure that our children get enough love and attention from us
individually,
has a lot to do with it.
Fantastic. So what you said is that if it's not a safety issue, of course, if they're not too little, there's no hurt involved, just let them settle. But later, at a proper moment, then we can instruct them and do role modeling and teach them what they can do at any time, right? Fantastic.
Right.
Yes, thank you so much, Gail. It was an honor to have you here. And I send you all my love.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah,
we could talk forever.
I know, but I know I have to go get ready for the class. I will continue. Yes. Thank you so much for coming, and I love you. Okay, bye now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good New Year. Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye. Okay, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. She's delightful. And thank you for joining me or watching the replay. And again, send your questions. I have many guests that are gonna join me every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific time. But I also have another guest this Friday at 11 a.m. And hopefully I see you there, and I send you all my love, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.